playing around with the Google Live thing, which probably everybody in the world has been using. But it's great to see everybody out there. Great to be back. I am probably like 90% recovered from the COVID that I had. So hopefully we can get down to business, get back to talking comics, trashing a few comics, praising a few comics, thinking about those people from yesteryear who have gone away, aren't making those great comics anymore. I've been thinking a lot about George Perez and Keith Giffen, Bernie Wrightston, Lynn Wein, just a lot of people, and then trying to remember there are still people out there who are the old school that can, still do it, still make the interesting comics. Sergio Aragonis, Mark Wolfman's still with us. He kind of dabbles here and there and things like that. But apparently, there's no school like the old school with what I've been reading and stuff, right? So anyway, since I was here last time, does Google Live not have any comments here? Well, okay. I'm not seeing any comments on the Google Live. But anyway, I had a birthday since the last time that I've been on here. That's what this is. Man, we don't need the green screen. Had a birthday. I had a birthday since the last time that we were here. Look at me just playing around with stuff. And actually was able to get a few things. The wife always, the beautiful wife always gets the best stuff. It kind of helps that I throw things out once or twice a year from Amazon at her, that I find and everything like that. And apparently she's been saving those, right? So during this last birthday, I was like, you did too much. One would have been enough. None would have been enough, actually. But, if you're going to give me a gift, one would have been enough. I actually had two dinners, uh, one with the immediate family. And then the next day, I got to hang out with the crew at Mexican, the Anderson, that's been mentioned many times here. If you go way back on this channel to the Tales of the Hobby Shop, where we would actually record in a hobby shop with everybody, Anderson made an appearance one time in a corner just laughing, and then I would pan back. Josh was there, Tim Anderson's wife, Star, who's a great friend, my wife. We all had a blast eating Mexican food, talking, talking, and then having a little starburst and everything, right? And old Anderson sent me a $25. Well, they got me a little bit of what was it, wine and some a little bit of wine and some chocolate, and then $25 gift certificate, which I pre-ordered a book. So anyway, the first book that the wife got. Let's get this out of the way. I hate that. Oh, there's the chats. They're sideways. Yeah, thanks, John Jones. I've had a great birthday. The chats are coming in sideways, guys. So hopefully I'm straight here. Anyway, so getting to the point, getting shaking the rust off, and like I said, I'm still a little affected with the COVID brain there, right? But one of the great things that she got me was this fantastic Epic collection, right? This is volume 9 of the Uncanny X-Men here. This covers the years of 1982 and 1983, where they were just exploding all over again after the Dark Phoenix saga. John Byrne had left. Dave Cockrum had come back to the book. We had some Magneto stuff going on. Then all of a sudden we pick up with Corsair and the Shi'ar and going out into space, right? But anyway, this is volume 9. If you want to try to go get it, this goes from Dave Cockrum to Paul Smith coming on there. These epic collections, as I've said many times before, and as many people have probably figured out as well over the years they've been putting these out. These are the best, right? The paper quality, um, the fact that they're just the best. They're fantastic, right? Now, also in this collection is a fantastic story, I think. We get a little Sienkiewicz in there and stuff, but we also get the Dracula story where he comes in Dracula, fresh off of Tomb of Dracula there, wants Storm, things like that, right? So basically, this has X-Men issues number 154 to 167, and annual number 6. And annual number 6 has that great Sienkiewicz still in his Neil Adams years there. I'm sure he's been on Moon Knight at this point in his career and getting that fantastic Sienkiewicz exaggeration going and stuff, right? Now, I was a little shocked with the writing, right? Byrne co-plotted the book with Claremont. They talked about, had a lot of ideas. You know, if you know anything about the lore, there are talks about the screaming matches, the fighting matches, Byrne leaving the book over Jean Grey, and things were going on. I'm go ahead and tell you that some of the structuring with Claremont's writing, if you're worried about that kind of thing, is a tad shocking. Now, these are the years that I was a very cantankerous collector, if you will, right? I would spend my money getting teen books and stuff, but once it was popular, I steered away from it. Once people were talking about it and stuff, right? So when people were talking about the Teen Titans and the X-Men, I'm over here doing a few other things. Now, I would get an issue here and there. You know, I mean, by God, at this point, I think comics were 35 cents to 60 cents. I don't really remember. But these Epic collections are fantastic. They are great. And I'm so glad I'm able to go back and read these. Now, I have a lot of these issues already, but I'm surprised on how beat up my issues are. It still feels like the 70s with Cockrum on there, even though we're well into the 80s here with a lot of these issues, which is kind of wild. I mean, I knew he was Cochran's. There's some artists that I feel like it's the 70s when I read them. Al Weiss, Dave Cockrum is one of them. I mean, they're forever 70s. Maybe that's when I discovered them and stuff, right? But yeah, you get the comics were 60 cents around this point. So yeah, there you go. One of my very favorite things, and I lost my bookmark, but I'm well into this trade. I'm able to read pretty quick because I have most of these issues and I've read them. There's 3 or 4 I've already read that I kind of missed. Hey, Paulo, I am sideways. Good grief. Yeah. See, it has a setting on it, guys, where it tells you are horizontal. So apparently I am not horizontal. So there, that's much better, right? So that's funny. Okay, so now it's officially a Howlermouse thing. So here is our epic collection. Happy birthday, guys. Thanks, man. John is here. Gonzalez is here. Happy birthday, man. Chris Claremont is the third most verbose comic writer. In this collection, he may have popped up to number 1 there for a while there, right? Okay, guys, so yeah, we're going to be on shaky cam from here on out, unless I can get us all set up again. Yeah, they got me with YouTube Live. It told me that I was fine. Anyway, so the second thing that the wife got me is this, all right? I am really digging the EC Comics reprint series presented by Dark Horse Comics here. This is Weird Science. This reprints issues 13 to 18, and you got everybody in there. Wally Wood, Joe Orlando, just some great stories, some Ray Bradbury collection stories. And to me, like I've said before many times, I love these collections also. You can find them discounted. You can find them on Amazon. They're $20 a pop. They're redoing the entire EC Comics, all the series before they got shut down, and then just ended up doing Mad Magazine. But these books are full. I mean, these stories are full of just text and great art. I mean, you got your money's worth. The crisp, clean art that's in these things, the heavy blacks, the sci-fi aesthetic of the time that is very nostalgic now. I don't find it very dated, despite the fact that I can look at it. You can kind of tell that Mars Attacks was something with the trading cards, with some of the designs in here, right? And like I said, some of the and I got to tell you, even the stories that don't land, this was the era of like they got by with a lot of this stuff, I guess, in their mind, because there always be like a moral at the end of the book, a little lesson, or the bad guy would get his in an ironic fashion and stuff, right? But yeah, I sit there and I end up just sort of lightly reading these, but what I end up doing is getting more into the text. A lot of this stuff is fantastic. And this particular issue trade is really cool because you kind of get the story in 4 parts of Ray Bradbury contacting EC Comics. Ray Bradbury, the stories with him, you actually see one of the letters in here somewhere. where Ray Bradbury had emailed it to EC Comics and is talking to the publisher and was like, hey, you guys do a great job. I love your comics, but I believe there's an oversight. You used one of my stories, and apparently I haven't received the check yet. So we can agree on like $125. Go ahead and send it to me. And it was fantastic, right? So yeah, you actually get to see I mean, just it's tight, it's classy. Everybody wasn't cutthroat back then, and you can tell they were sort of like, "Oh yes, yes sir, we'll get right on that. We're sorry about that oversight. We'll find out what happened there, and the check is on its way." So apparently, they could just pick up Ray Bradbury stories, do some adaptations to them, and they would just go ahead and send the guy a check, because he's a fan. And that's what's really cool about Harlan Ellison and Ray Bradbury. Yeah, yeah. Let me make sure here. Yeah, Ray Bradbury. This is some of the Ray Bradbury stuff. They show you the issues that are in there. And that was the birthday stuff from my wife. Good stuff, man. Yeah, got nice ending instead of a legal battle. Exactly, that's what I'm getting at. Believe in God, and He will help you remember God's plan. Absolutely, Amen. I just thought you'd been drinking. No, man, it actually, if you hit your Google Plus Live, this is the first time I've used it. At the very top of it, it says horizontal setting, vertical setting. It told me and showed me that I was fine until I went live, and it flashed my head sideways for a minute, and then when I came live, I looked like I was correct. So yeah, I'll live and learn. So we'll just stay right here, okay? Now, one of the things I hope you guys like your Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I hope you like your Space Ghost. I hope you like your Johnny Quest, your Herculoids. What is the company? Dynamite Entertainment, and I think Mad Cave Studios have gotten a lot of those licenses out there. I think Mad Cave Studios may have Flash right now, Flash Gordon, and are they the ones doing Space Ghost? I don't know. There's a Johnny Quest book, a Space Ghost book. And right now, I'm pretty sure Dynamite Entertainment probably has this license because I got this Virgin variant. I found this months ago on eBay as a pre-order. Okay, with my regular comics that are going to be coming to me by at the end of the month. My regular orders. The number one of this Herculoids book by with the cover by Mike Mignola. That'll be in my next comic book haul, right? But this one was a comic book store. Apparently, you can go on eBay and you can look up these books in advance, just type them in, and there will be comic book shops that will send them to you the day they come out. So I got this super cheap, considering that I think I'll have to check my Instagram because I'll look this up. This is like a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 15 Virgin variant foil cover of the Herculoids. All right, so I've already flipped through this. It's all right. I'm impressed with it. Um, I think the greatest Hanna Barbera book that's been done was by Joe Kelly back in the 2000s. What was that artist's name? Ariel Olivetta. Anyway, of Space Ghost, where they did a very adult themed, Lone Ranger inspired Space Ghost origin, things like that. So why I'm bringing this up is I also have these 12 issues because, the years are flying by, guys. The years are flying by, right? But I went to Ollie's looking around, and for $5, I got the first 6 issues of Future Quest. This was a 12-issue series that came out. Oh my goodness. I'm trying to think what year it was, 2017. And then this was followed with a lot of one shots and then another series of books, sort of like team ups and stuff that followed this. Yeah, 2017. We got a 12-issue series that, like, more or less started with Space Ghost and Johnny Quest, and it brought in all those great 60s Hanna-Barbera characters. Steve Rude worked on this. We got multiple covers with these. I have all 12. Not only do I have all 12, I've got a ton of the one shots. You had like, I think Space Ghost and Green Lantern ended up crossing over. There was a highly acclaimed Elmer Fudd versus Batman. Black Lightning met Hong Kong Phooey. The Snagglepuss one was just horrible. I don't know where they were going with that one. But anyway, you brought back all these characters, and I'm getting to the point where, like, I am really closing in on things I like to read, and I'm starting to reread things despite the fact that I have this huge stack of stuff I need to read. It just doesn't grab me. As you can see, I'm taking my time going through this. Again, you understand, this is not Shakespeare. This is not Marvel Wolfman's Crisis on Infinite Earths. This isn't really going to grip you. This is fun. And I read it in small doses. One of the things I really like is the fact like they have Birdman, a Birdman story by Steve Rude, multiple covers, and we get to see a lot of these character sketches, the little extras. And I found this for $5. And like I said, I ordered this as they came out. You know, but all of this stuff is just fantastic. You know, I love these characters. As a kid, I would catch them on weird reruns on different kind of cable networks. And then in 1980, they brought back. They had like a All Star Power Hour or something in 1980, and it had new Space Ghost stories, some new Herculoid stories, and some other things wrapped up in there. It's around 1980. Had one big, huge crossover with all the cartoons at that point. So the moderation probably lent a mystique for me, and it's never been burnt out, right? So this is very cool to have. The 12 issues are fun, and just to kind of show you what kind of fan I am, I have the original Herculoids here. I believe Warner Brothers, and there's probably other people that are out there more knowledgeable and stuff because I buy everything secondhand. I don't really get online and buy very much, if you will. But basically, this was, I think Warner Brothers had the thing where when you order the DVDs through Amazon, we'll say they print them as needed, okay, as ordered, if you will, right? So yeah, I have all the Herculoids from the 60s. I have the Blu-ray of Space Ghost and Dynamoy complete from the 60s, the great Alex Toth stuff. Around 1980 to about 83, we had the Jack Kirby, Steve Gerber. This was the series that made me a fan of Jack Kirby when I started figuring out Jack Kirby was doing the character designs and things, right? Of Thundar. And apparently I picked this up too. You guys have heard me many. I've had these for a while. I just pulled these off the shelf behind me since I had these comics. But you guys have heard me talk a lot about the Legion of Superheroes cartoon that came out in around 2007, I believe. Well, the two seasons are out there on Blu-ray, and I got this super cheap off of Amazon. It went on sale. I want to say that cost me $6 or something. And it's got the little bit of a Justice League Bruce Timm formula, if you will. Second, so, you know, if you're a Legion fan, you'll like that. All right, let's see what's going on here. I do like the fact that I can actually see the comments a lot easier. I am sideways. We've gotten over that. Love Space Ghost. Mad Cave has Flash Gordon, Defenders of the Earth. Flash Gordon is very intriguing. Great. Thank you, Paolo. Yeah, Mad Cave, a lot of the licensing, they bop around so many you never. I mean, you have Star Wars books coming from Dark Horse and Star Wars right now, you know. Hunter Barbera, and I got Flash back to their Hair Bear Bunch. There we go. Hair Bear Bunch, I've got some of those comics from the 70s. I watched that in the 70s. If there was a cartoon on Saturday morning from 1977 all the way up till the 2000s, I watched it. I saw them, you know. Has anyone seen the Secret Wars 40th anniversary action figures? The Wolverine is classic. Love the smirk on his face. I have not seen that. Jeff Parker knows how to have fun. He doesn't need to do Shakespeare to impress. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I agree with that. Let's see if we can get this technical issue out of the way here. Okay. So while I was out having my birthday dinner, went out of town to meet everybody. We got there a little bit early, and ended up hitting a little auction, not an auction, an antique shop, a little antique shop, right? And I ended up picking up a few things. First thing I got here is now, you know, this was a great era. This is probably the last great thing that DC did, right? But these were $2 a piece, and I got another copy, but I had to get it because it's a first print. They had multiple printings of this, right? But this is the Sinestro Corps special, right? The War Begins, and the Sinestro Corps ended up setting up a lot of things that would start building up to Blackest Night. You know, all the multiple rings and carriers and colors and the spectrum of emotion for these things, right? This was great stuff, right? And I don't know if you're an old school Marvel fan, but if you go back to the 80s and you look up a series called, I think it was Mephisto, and the first, you know, it was 4-issue miniseries, and in each issue, Mephisto burst would go up against another team. So the first issue was called Mephisto versus the Fantastic Four. Well, maybe the X-Men. They ended up being Mephisto versus X-Men, Mephisto versus Avengers, and so on. And on the X-Men cover, Ethan Van Sciver was inspired, and that's where he got the idea to have them all, have thorns coming out of their chest while they were strapped to poles and stuff, right? That's straight from one of those covers. I kind of wondered when I saw that. I was like, I kind of looked at it sideways, so to see him admit it years later was kind of cool. Now, years ago, you guys who follow this know that, I don't know, maybe it's during the pandemic, 2019. I don't know. I've been doing this for several years and stuff, right? But I had stopped at a flea market and saw a bunch of the Immortal Hulk books for $1 a piece. Um, it was either the same day or the next weekend. I went to a comic book convention in Bristol, Virginia. It was this comic book convention in particular. It was the first year it was in Bristol, and it's in December every month every year in December. And I got there and I saw these same Immortal Hulk books for going for $20 to $40, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. And I even told some of the dealers that I was made them mad. They were so I was like, I just saw these for $1 a piece, you know. So just because that they were going after it, and this was such a hot book at the time with its multiple covers, there's 50 issues of it, and I had tons of people telling me on my live shows that I needed to check this out. This is a good book. This is one of those modern books that is just fantastic. And I was like, I read a few issues here and there, and I was like, every book on the stands around the late 80s and early 90s were this is the same quality they had. Then I sat down and I got all the way up to around, I think it was around issue 8. I read 8 in a row. And then all of a sudden, that's when it clicked. That's when I came on here and I apologized to everybody. I was like, you guys are absolutely right. This is classic. So basically, I need, I think, 5 more issues of the 50 issue run. And I've bought almost every one of those for $1 or less. Now, these two are $2. And I also have a second number 1 that I think I got off eBay. I'm so glad I document these in videos and stuff and live shows. But I think I paid something like $3 or $4 for it, $7. I don't know, somewhere up there. So considering there's 50 issues in it, I now need 5 more issues, and I've gotten them for $1 or less with the majority of them. It doesn't really bother me at this point to try and make I don't have anything to prove anymore. These were $2 a piece for 2 more issues of the Immortal Hulk. And actually, I am going to sit down and read all of them. I jumped ahead. I ordered number 50 off of a website that gave me something like 85% off for some reason. I can't remember what the deal was, right? So I actually ended up with the last issue, right when it came out, probably about a month or two after it came out, I think. Anyway, I went ahead and skipped ahead, and I could tell you need to read the entire series because that 50th issue, I was sort of like, what is this crap? So apparently the ending had to make sense. The ending, I'm hoping, will make more sense after you've read all 50. The best thing since Peter David was on the book. I agree with you. I do agree with you. Absolutely, right? So, if my COVID recovering brain can remember, I'm pretty sure in my last 2 live shows, I talked about getting on Amazon here, and that they have a Mike Mignola documentary called Drawing Monsters, Hellboy Drawing Monsters. And it was a very interesting take on, Mike Mignola, of course, is part of it and everything, right? But if you're a Hellboy fan or a Mike Mignola fan, they sort of ran through, I feel was sufficient. They didn't talk about a lot of his indie stuff. They really talked about a lot of Mike Mignola's Marvel stuff and his DC stuff and his stumbling blocks. And I felt like it was pretty honest about things, where he stumbled, where he fell, who got credit for what, how his wife encouraged him to keep doing Hellboy and think, even though she's read 1 issue and a lot of things like that. But I found it very intriguing, and I went through a lot of my Hellboy stuff, my Mike Mignola stuff, and I got on eBay and found this, The Amazing Screw-On Head and Other Stories. Found this pretty cheap, but it's got The Witch and the Soul. It's just a lot of Amazing Screwhead Head actually almost became a cartoon. Mike Mignola did this story of the amazing screw-on head because he won something that had nothing to do with Hellboy. I guess I don't know if he was doing Burnout or what was going on. So he pulls in Abraham Lincoln here, and Amazing Screw-On Head is an agent for Abraham Lincoln for the government at the time, and he goes out there and has an adventure. Now, if I am remembering correctly, the Sci-Fi Channel or someone, and I remember watching it on YouTube as well, animated this, and it did not take off as a animated series. So this story has been animated. And then, like I said, you get a lot of other stories. That one that he did with his brother, and then he has a story that he did with his daughter, and his daughter and he ended up winning an Eisner for, you know, the magician and the snake, and he talks about that in the documentary. And I found that very curious because I absolutely love this story because I caught a bunch of the symbolism and stuff, but I didn't know the story behind the story. You follow what I'm saying? So yeah, now I have several different printings of the magician and the snake. It's a very simple story. The pages are online for free. It's a very short story, but it's real heavy on symbolism, and it actually tied into the last chapter of Hellboy and Hellboy in Hell. He actually saw the three objects that the magician made disappear and saw that Mike Mignola has never told us what they were, right? So, guys, when it comes to actual reading, well, here's what happened, right? Let me get some of this stuff. I just realized I have a stack over here. Okay, let me look around here, right? So basically, what's happened is it is time. It is time. I've been doing it. I've got 2, 3 boxes already set aside to sell, give away, get store credit somewhere, something like that. But after all these years and everything we're doing, it is definitely time to be shrinking the collection and to get serious about it, right? Because I was so happy to get this. I got this off eBay. This particular seller, I got 2 trades off of them. One was like $1, I don't know, 27, 25. The other was 99 cents. Again, I'm glad it was these 2 trades. I was very glad that I document the stuff. That stuff's important, and I was so excited to read these missing chapters of George Perez's Wonder Woman, which I particularly found. I've been very lucky, apparently because the Lin Win issues. I followed this in 1987, #1, all the way up until like the teens, and then I have tons of Wonder Woman. But this is issues like 20 to 25 or something. And that's when it started disappearing off the stands at the time for whatever reason. It's Wonder Woman as I was growing up. Yeah, 20 to 24 with an annual in there, right? And it put me to sleep. This was horrible. I'm like, so I put that to the side, right? And then, I remember when it felt like the decline in comic quality really started, but you didn't think it would stick because it ebbs and flows. The DC 52 previews, I have a video when that preview came out where I have the Kirby knife and I'm stabbing every book I said was going to get canceled. And we all saw how that came out. I'm pretty sure it did. But this is what really broke my heart because I have gotten on here, and nostalgia is a hell of a thing, right? So I went out and I got my Martin Jewelers. This ends up being a Martin Jewelers variant, believe it or not. But I got like issues 1 through 12. I have a complete set of Infinity Inc. that I started on. As a kid, one of my favorite books, and it's still one of my favorite books, was Roy Thomas doing All-Star Squadron. And this is the second generation. I'm also really, you can see the random issues I was able to pick up as a kid because these were direct market. You could not get them out on the stand. So over the years, I've collected a complete run of Infinity Inc. And I got to sit down and finally read all these together. And I'm like, oh my God, Roy is not putting his best foot forward in this book. So after all those years of kind of picking a book here and picking a book there and being real forgiving over like the mess that Crisis on Infinite Earths made of the book and everything like that, I get it, and it's like highly disappointing. I was like, I couldn't even finish this. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm seeing that over time there's definitely a lot of forgiveness in my head over nostalgia and things like that. Jerry Ordway is drawing his heart out, but some of the stuff that Roy is writing in there, I'm just sort of like, it will put you to sleep. It's unnecessary. It's just overboard. Hey, Rob Ripa, great to see you. Yeah, I had a great one. Yeah, John Jones, New 52, great art, crap stories, and who knew was responding, and we knew who was responsible for it. Yeah. I was pretty forgiving about a lot of things that the person who's responsible for that was, but now that we see how things have come out, it turned out, yeah, it can land solely in his lap. So then, like I said, I picked this up with some store credit at McKay's. This was a Alan Moore story I'd never heard of, A Small Killing, um, with by Alan Moore. This is the late '80s. I never really heard this before that I can recall. I want to say I did. I don't know. I've studied so much Alan Moore stuff. I think maybe I've read across the title of the book, but I definitely never read it. Now, this was another thing. I finished this because it is Alan Moore. And I do recommend that you read this. You may get something more out of it than I did. Okay. But I felt like this was a touch of a little bit more of a personal message for more than what the story is, right? I'm not going to get into it, right? So I actually read this. Had to check and look to make sure Alan Moore actually wrote this. Finished it, thought about what was more doing here, what was he trying to say, where are we going with this and stuff, right? And I'm like, how can Alan Moore say that, you know, Alan, how can he say that he was very, oh, what's the word? How did he describe Killing Joke? He doesn't feel like Killing Joke was his best work. And then how can he tries to back up and say that Rorschach was a bad guy. And I don't know how he can talk about those two pieces of work, his two most popular pieces of work, when we have one of a misstep about Alan Moore. Here's how I feel about it, right? But then again, this is Alan Moore, so even his throwaway stories are better than some other writer's best story. You follow what I'm saying? So I'm trying not to hold him to a higher standard. I'm also not trying to be forgiving because it's Alan Moore. But this was like number 3 in a row. You know what I mean? Like, I'm reading some very bad books, And what did I think tainted this? I talked to Josh about this. Josh, who's on, check out our live show from last month, asked me to read this Tom King Strange Adventures, and it is so bad I ended up taking notes on each chapter for about the first 4 chapters. I had to get away from it so I could go back and finish it. I will never read anything else Tom King. So basically, what's happening is I have read 4 bad projects in a row, and it's turned me to having to cleanse the palate with actual novels, books, action books, things like that, because I do enjoy my reading. And where I've had COVID and things, I can't really go out and do urban sketches and things like that. Oh, what do we got here? Alan Moore. Here we go. New 52. Paulo Costa. Alan Moore, completist. Know about A Small Killing. Artist Oscar Zarate was here in Portugal for an Alan Moore themed exhibit about 20 years ago. And then we have Paolo saying, spread the gospel of anti Tom King. I've never read anything else Tom King. I am going to make a review of this Strange Adventures book by Tom King because I told my friends and people that I would. You know what I mean? Even if they don't want to see it. But it is going to, it'll be interesting to see how I conduct myself if that is so bad. Tom King was on Batman too long, and it overhyped. The Mr. Miracle was awful. Yeah, I stuck in there with Mr. Miracle stuff. Number 1, it's a Kirby character. Number 2, this was still the time where I never bought the hype on Tom King, but people were talking about his Vision book, and the hype was, oh, this is the next Alan Moore, and I was like, no, he's not. So I stuck in. I also had to pre-order online shopping that Mr. Miracle 12-issue maxi series as it came out. Horrible stuff. I mean, it really is horrible. The people that like Tom King, I can totally not go back and forth with somebody and declare, oh, this sucks, you shouldn't like it, and stuff like that. I don't like it, you like it, you can praise it or something. If what I usually don't like are when people have hot takes. I've only heard 2 or 3 people really be able to say why they did not like The Watchmen, for an example. I've talked about that before. And I've only had two, three people who had actual reasons where you can tell they read the work. They actually read the entire Watchmen thing, and they could specifically say what they didn't like about it through reading it. Things like that's fine. When it comes to Tom King and the people that like Tom King, um, that that may they may not fall in this area. Okay, I'm like this is shit. You have a sweet taste for shit. He's that kind of divisive writer, I guess. I mean, like I'm really like you were not going to be able to show me why you like Tom King. And Gore Vidal, the great Gore Vidal, my friend and stuff, he has texted me or he's mentioned here he is a Tom King fan. So I could see maybe having a discussion with him in private at some point. John Jones, his Wonder Woman run he's on now seems to be going nowhere in storytelling. Surprise! I mean, it's Tom King. I don't if you spend money on Tom King, you're going to be disappointed. I was done, finally done with the man when they hyped up a Batman Catwoman wedding just to pull the rug out from underneath each one. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. And that seems to be what Tom King likes to do to his readers, right? So, what have I been reading to cleanse that palate from Tom King, guys? I'm whipping out my Destroyer books, all right? Remo Williams, Shang-Chi, okay? Shang-Chi, excuse me. Remo Williams, Chun. There's no Shang-Chi in this, guys. Sorry. I don't know. COVID brain, guys. COVID brain, right? I'm going to milk that for a while, right? But this is a Holy Mother. This is book 144, I believe. Yeah, 144 of Destroyer books. These Destroyer books started coming out in 1971. They kind of did a restart due to contractual issues and stuff, and I think the last one may have come out in 2022. I don't know. But in '85, they definitely had the Remo Williams movie, and then in the late '80s, they actually had a TV show that didn't last very long and stuff, right? But the books are the way to go. There's satire, there's humor in there. You get to see Remo Williams and Chun be assassins, take off. Like I said, they're not comedic books, but they do have humor in them. They're easy to me. I can just fly through these books. And in this one in particular, I'm very excited about it because not only is Remo Williams, um, a great Sunanju assassin master who works for the government in this secret organization and everything. But he is also the avatar for Shiva the Destroyer, and now we get a story where we kind of see what this means. Apparently, Shiva Destroyer, he comes in and goes against the Holy Mother here of Kali, I think is her name, right? But anyway, the whole concept of the Destroyer is that JFK set up a small organization with one man, John Smith, and that's it. And he gets to hire people, one or two people at first, and basically he hires Chun, who lives in Korea, in the fishing village called Shunanju, which is also the name of the first sun source of all martial arts. And it's all about eating just rice, balance your diet and the way you breathe and things like that. And you end up doing amazing things with your body and things, right? And all the other martial arts copied this, right? Everything that ninjas can do, but they have to have tools to do them. Sinanju people do with just their body. And for centuries, they only worked for emperors and kings. So Smith, who works for the government, it's called Cure, was their organization is that in order to protect America, they got to have a. Sometimes the Constitution gets in the way, and you don't want to admit that, so you keep it secret. So John Smith is able to hire Chun to take out people who are a threat to America and things like that. But it ends up being great satire and stuff like that. So yeah, check this out. I've been reading that. And then Remo and Chun are awesome Fireball comics. Yeah, absolutely. Just pick up any of them, and they age in real time. That's what's wild. I and then if you really want to check them out, I would highly recommend getting on eBay or ordering it. But they had a magazine. Marvel came out with a magazine in the late '80s. I've talked about it many times here. I have all 9 issues. There's 9 issues of magazines where they adapt the first 9 books. I would definitely get the first one for the origin to see if it's something you want to try to get, right? So the other thing, again, I took a chance on this. I took a chance because I read a lot of dead authors. All right, Philip Jose Farmer, Isaac Asimov, little a book or two by Mark Twain. I can go on and on. I read dead authors. I probably read the same people that I read when I was 12 and things like that, right? So I took a chance and I got a book, Kings of the Wild, and it was good. It was entertaining. I thought it was a little bit long, too long and stuff, and like get to the point and things, but it was fun. And then I saw this on sale, The Bone Code, Kathy Reichs. I think this came out in 2023, maybe, but this is the 22nd book in the series. This series started in 1997. What's the significance? The Bones TV show from Fox that ran for like 12 years, right? This is the author that produced that, and her books inspired it's a Temperance Brennan mystery, right? So this is the book and the author that inspired that show. The show is even mentioned in this book. And where I live, I go to Heroes Con quite a bit over the years. Charlotte, North Carolina, the Queen City, is about 3 hours from here, right? And that's where this Temperance Brennan lives, right? This is the Temperance. It's very meta a little bit when it comes to the show versus the books, okay? Because the show exists in this universe, even though this is sort of the character that it's based on, and the show did kind of go its own way, right? But anyway, she's a anthropologist, forensic anthropologist. She made up her title. There's only like 50 in the world. It's like it's a brand new job. Anthropologist, forensic scientist, right? They can read the bones, feel the bones, and help solve cases and stuff, right? And this takes place in Charlotte, North Carolina, all the way to the Isle of Palm. She spends half her time up in Canada also helping out the Mounties up there, right? And what's wild is that Kathy Reichs, the author, this is exactly what she does also. She inspired more the character on the show than her character in the book of Temperance. They're very different people and stuff, right? So I'm like getting through it pretty well. And for a crime book, it reads very easy. I do recommend it. I'll probably, if I can find them, at a McKay's or used or something, I'll probably be picking up a few more, right? So that is the Bone Code. I don't read a lot of crime stuff, but it is mystery. I like mystery stories, right? The traditional mystery stuff, particularly with, noir in it and stuff, right? All right. Well, we have people that read these books. Let's see if I can do this. Look at this. Fireball Comics is on it. Great. Yeah, I have the first edition of the first Bones novel. I think that's from 97. I had Kathy sign it at a meet and greet. Oh, that's cool. That is so cool. And you have all the rest of the novels. Awesome. Paulo Costa knows the show. Emily Deschanel made Temperance Brennan vegetarian because she herself is vegetarian. That's what I mean. It gets a little bit meta with what they do with the characters. That like Temperance becoming vegetarian, like she's vegetarian stuff, right? The books that Bones Temperance on the TV show ends up writing, she names her character after this author, because that's what I mean. It's kind of cool how they can go back and forth, even though they're almost completely different here, right? There's no Jeffersonian in this book, is what I'm getting at, which is the Smithsonian. Best thing about Bones, Billy Gibbons guest appearance. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was like, what the hell? Yeah, I remember watching that. My son turned me on to the show, and luckily, I think, I've ended up binging the show completely from beginning to end probably about 2 or 3 times. I really like being able to forget it so I can really enjoy it again. Yes, yes. Okay. So what else have I been reading? Let me look here. Yeah. So I've also been like reading this, right? Um, this is Marvel Saga, and I forgot that these essentials are in black and white, but that's fine, right? So basically, Marvel Saga was a series that came out, I don't know, 1986, we'll say. And this is why I also kind of laughed when Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross, I found out what Marvels was going to be about back in the day, because I was like, they're doing Marvel Saga. But anyway, what they do is that Pete Sanderson did some research, Mark Grunwald, a lot of people came in. And what they did is they were presenting the Marvel history in chronological order from Fantastic Four #1 all the way to the coming of Galactus and everything that happened during the Silver Age during that time. Now, what they did is where they were doing chronological order, the first issue ended up mentioning and showing some burned pages for Alpha Flight. It told you about the Eternals and the Skrulls and the Celestials and stuff that came before the Fantastic Four. It talked about the Cowboys and World War II and things. And what I thought was absolutely excellent is that they would take panels out of each of those comics and they would give you a chronological telling of the entire Marvel universe at that time. Of course, the series that ran 25 issues was in color. It did have a few pieces of new artwork here and there, new covers. Keith Pohl would come in and do a little splash page here and there. But you got to enjoy Steve Ditko, John Buscema, Jack Kirby, Dick Ayers, Wally Wood. You would see these early adventures of Daredevil and the X-Men and all those beginning greats and stuff, right? And it's one of the ways that I was able to kind of end up getting another trivia of Marvel and the history of it and how the things. I always loved. I was already always fascinated by the editorials and keeping up with things and stuff like that, right? The fact that George Perez, as it said in the I'm trying to think the editorial one of the Teen Titans books in the 20s, the new Teen Titans of the 20s. Somewhere in the letters column or an editorial, Marv Wolfman says that George Perez has already started drawing pages for the Teen Titans X-Men crossover part 2 that never came. So somewhere there's pages floating around of we had Chris Claremont and Walt Simonson doing their part. So apparently there's going to be a part that old George was going to draw stuff, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing now, right? And like I said, I'm still that COVID, guys. It gets a hold of you. I've been working and I've been doing everything, but just I still have the COVID brain and I have spurts of energy that don't last long, right? So make sure that you thumb it up. Make sure you go ahead and like this live show. I don't know. People who get on here, the first 5 minutes is going to be sideways. So thumb it up so they know that it gets better. Make sure you are subscribed and make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I'm going to be doing this and stuff, right? Because like I said, I've made a promise to actually make a review video that's going to just be destroying the Strange Adventures by Tom King. I like to get back to the live shows on Sunday mornings and stuff like that. Age of Apocalypse, the X-Men Age of Apocalypse. Now that I'm better, I can start reading the book and get with Ponadis and see if we can do a live show. Anybody else that wants on there? So there are things I want to do, but they'll come. They'll come eventually. I'll do these things as I can. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. I'm looking to see how to shut this down. I don't even see a turn off button for this, but hey, we'll find out. We'll figure this out together. All right. Anyway, later, guys. Like I said, thumbs it up, man. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great day and make sure you read your comics. Good to see everybody. Nice.